So what happens when an event that's supposed to fight a deadly disease turns into a massive tone-deaf party? For almost 20 years, one of South Korea's biggest charity events promised to raise awareness for breast cancer. But in 2025, that promise was completely shattered by a night of nonstop glamour, alcohol, and just shocking disrespect. Let's get into how it all went so wrong. But before we dive into the scandal, you have to understand the stakes. This number, 95%, is the survival rate for breast cancer when it's caught early. It's why real awareness campaigns are literally life-saving. They're the reason people get the checkups that can make all the difference. And for 19 years, W Magazine Korea's Love Your W campaign was seen as a huge part of that effort. It was this high-profile, star-studded event that everyone thought was for a really good cause. But the 2025 party, well, it revealed a very different and pretty ugly reality. Okay, so first, let's take a look at what this campaign was supposed to be and how it managed to build up such a respected image over almost 2 decades. The whole thing started way back in 2006. Over the years, it grew into one of the most anticipated events on the calendar, mixing all the glitz of K-pop with what seemed like a noble cause. To the public, it looked like a heartfelt humanitarian effort, and they spent nearly 20 years carefully building that brand. All right, now let's get to the night it all just fell apart. The 2025 event wasn't just a small mistake, it felt like a complete betrayal of the campaign's entire mission. And this is where you can just see the massive disconnect. What you'd expect from a breast cancer event, right? Some solemnity, some support. But the reality of Love Your W 2025 was a loud, boozy nightclub. It was all about celebrity photo shoots and TikTok challenges, not the patients. This quote right here just perfectly captures how people felt. They were shocked. The whole night felt less like a charity fundraiser and more like a promotional party for the rich and famous, using a deadly disease as some kind of cool theme. The tone-deaf party was bad enough, but when people started looking into the finances, oh boy. The scandal went from just disrespectful to feeling downright deceptive. Let's follow the money. So at first, the number W Korea was throwing around sounded pretty impressive. Over its entire history, the campaign claimed it raised 1.1 billion Korean won. And to most people, that sounds like a whole lot of money for a great cause. But here's the first catch. When you actually convert that 1.1 billion won, it's only about 775,000 US dollars. Suddenly, that number feels a lot smaller, especially when you remember it was raised over almost 20 years. And that, of course, leads to the most important question of all. Of all the money that came in, how much of it actually got to the hospitals and patients it was supposed to be helping? The answer is pretty staggering. This chart is really the heart of the financial scandal. Of the $775,000 raised, documents show that only about $220,000 was ever actually donated. I mean, that means more than 2/3 of the money just disappeared, probably to pay for the lavish parties themselves. To put that into perspective, the average donation each year was only about $35,000. People online were quick to point out that a single luxury handbag worn by one of the celebrities at the party often cost more than the entire amount donated to fight cancer for that year. Just think about that. So beyond the awful atmosphere and the really questionable finances, the party itself had these moments that were just deeply, deeply offensive. The outrage really boils down to 3 key things: a shockingly inappropriate song choice, a weird social media challenge, and the magazine's own marketing, which seemed totally clueless about the cause it was supposed to be supporting. A huge moment was when the artist Jay Park performed his song Mame. That song has a lyric that is explicitly about objectifying women's breasts. Performing that at a breast cancer event, an event for patients who often have to undergo mastectomies, was seen as an incredibly cruel insult. You know, if you ever want to know a company's real priorities, just look at their social media. Y Magazine posted 54 videos from the event. 53 of them showed celebrities drinking, dancing, and partying. Only one, a single video, actually mentioned breast cancer awareness. So as the backlash just exploded online, the big question became, who is really to blame for this whole mess? Was it the young idols who were there, or the powerful organizers who put the whole thing together? And the argument that came out was actually pretty nuanced. On one side, you have W Magazine, the organizers. They held all the power. They controlled the money, they set the tone. They even reportedly barred the idols' managers from coming in, which removed a whole layer of supervision. But on the other hand, a lot of people argued that the idols themselves, while not totally blameless, were probably acting more out of naivety than real malice. And to really get that, you have to understand the concept of the K-pop bubble. It's this intense, isolated world these stars live in from a super young age. They're trained relentlessly on how to perform and handle PR, but not necessarily educated on complex social issues. They know how to promote a new perfume, but maybe not how to respectfully support a cause like cancer awareness. As you can imagine, the fallout from the party was fast and it was severe. It led to a massive public outcry, a forced apology, and what really looks like the permanent destruction of the campaign's reputation. W Magazine stayed completely silent for 4 whole days, as the public anger just kept growing. An apology only appeared after fans started contacting the event's big corporate sponsors, threatening their bottom line. And because of that, the apology just felt hollow, like it was motivated by money, not actual remorse. But maybe the most unbelievable moment came after the apology. W Magazine actually used the official hashtag #LoveYourW2025 hashtag to promote a Dyson hairdryer. Using a cancer campaign hashtag to sell a hair product to an audience that includes patients who lose their hair from chemotherapy was just the final insult. For so many people, this was the proof that it was never really about charity. This whole crazy scandal leaves us with a really critical question, one that goes way beyond just one party. In this world of cause marketing, where is the line? When does raising awareness stop being helpful and just become blatant, harmful exploitation?